Hello, I'm Milli Midwood and welcome back to Harper's Bazaar Arabia's weekly Currently Trending podcast. Today we're talking about the ongoing debate and one of the more controversial topics in the media industry, the influencer. Hello and welcome back to Harper's Bazaar Arabia's Currently Trending podcast. Today I'm joined by resident style arbiter and Harper's Bazaar Arabia contributor Mohammed Sultan and Diala Makki, fashion and documentary producer and TV host. So thank you so much for joining me in the studio today, guys.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Mohammed, for making this possible.
It's so good to have you here, Diala. I think this is your first podcast, and you and I share the same sort of ideas, and I thought this would be just a beautiful story for us to share to all of our audience.
I mean, it was quite amazing. I feel for the past 2 weeks, me and Mohammed started this conversation on social media, and I was quite overwhelmed about people's reactions when it came to the idea of the role that social influencers or social media personalities play, and the negative impact that they have on specific industries, and positively how they're being used to enhance the strategies of specific fashion houses, etc., etc. But we are here today to discuss, I feel, the impact that it leaves on the community, the effect that it has on the younger generation, the importance of creating valuable content, because I believe we are responsible for every single picture, video, statement that we put out there on social media. Today, there's no filter.
Absolutely.
You have teenagers going through their feeds, looking on Instagram. They don't Google anymore. They don't research anymore. Instagram is their source of information.
They don't even know how to hold a book, let alone, go to a library or get inspired by anything.
So we are putting this information out there.
Absolutely. We'd like, from my perspective, I'd like to see traditional values come back to the way that they were, in terms that we have to agree, yes, it is a digital era that we are living in right now. And the topic we are discussing are influencers. Mm-hmm. What we need to know is, how do we identify what an influencer actually means?
What does it mean to you, Mohammed?
To me, coming from what I have heard recently about me, where people are confused that I am an influencer, I look at it this way. An influencer is someone that has basically found a cure for a deadly disease. A person who is a geologist, a person that knows astrology blindly, a person that's
contributing to the society in a positive way.
It's educational.
A teacher, an artist, the list goes on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But what kills me most is that today an influencer has become a job title.
Without having the background.
Absolutely.
Here I would like to comment on what Mohammed is saying. In my opinion, if you don't have a career, if you don't have education, if you don't have knowledge, and if you don't work,
work ethic.
Education doesn't only mean for you to have a degree. Education means constantly bettering yourself, constantly working on the knowledge in whatever field that you are in. So if you are a person that doesn't have a voice in the society or in the community, you cannot by any means be called an influencer. The word influencer is being misused. There is nothing wrong with the word digital influencer. It's being misused, and wrong people are using them. Specific people that we see today on social media have been able to take this fame on the digital platforms and transform it into a business. Yes, they are true influencers because they became businessmen and women, but the rest, in my opinion, are promoters, because they're not.
But even promoters,
but not even looking down on the term, because today
there's the right way of promoting something,
okay,
and the wrong way of promoting something.
So true.
The way I look at, you call them promoters. I will have to be a little bit cheeky here and call them liars. Honestly, being paid to
I
post
need a
something.
sip of coffee for that. And I need a filter. No filter, actually.
Being paid to post something that, A, you have no knowledge about. You've never used the product. You probably don't even know the components of it or the history of the brand that represents
And you
it.
don't want to do the effort of even going
Researching,
there.
exactly. I threw out a question to my audience saying, what does an influencer mean to you? Or, what's your take on influencers? A lot of people have responded by saying, waste of time, no one is doing real value. The reason behind depression for today's generation. Other people have been really opinionated by saying, making me feel bad about myself.
Yeah. I had a mother, remember we talked about this,
Yes.
Muhammad, I had a pharmacist mom where her kids came in and asked her, Mom, you work so hard all day and you're beautiful. Why don't you become a beauty blogger? You'll make more money than you're making now. Just tapping on what Mohammed is saying right now.
A person from PR, but I'm not going to mention her name, has actually said, I can't even hear that word influencer anymore. Someone has to explain it to me. So is there anything that explains what an influencer means? Because everyone's opinionated about it. And throwing that question out to my audience on my platforms has been super resentful, very negative. 5% maybe, or even 2% may have said something good about it.
1%. One person that said something positive.
Someone
presumably
said 15
an
minutes.
influencer.
Yeah. They are micro influencers.
Here.
You can continue.
One said they don't influence people in any sort of positive way. It's hijacking the feed with ads that are meaningless. There's
Okay.
no substance and there is no value.
But I really think the main concept, the main topic here, tapping on all this feedback that you got from your followers and from my followers, because they were pretty much the same, is one keyword: content. There is in the Middle East a missing link to begin with. There are no real content agencies that create content for these influencers. One, the influencers in our region don't have the capability to create good content. So today, if a brand comes in and they want to promote a perfume, taking a picture with a perfume is not content. Researching about this perfume, knowing its components, knowing its notes, talking about the history.
The nose that created it, there's only 20 noses in the world.
Like the nose that created it, the inspiration, to the ode to a sentimental, social, whatever it is. There is zero work on content. Content is key, even though the industry has changed. Like, I come from a film and a TV background. So there's no doubt that the industry 14 years ago, when I started as a kid, is nothing like the industry today. But we spoke with me and Mohammed over a lunch 2 days ago. Content and the value of production should never change. Like you work on print and on websites and on TV, the quality is the same. The ABC of production is the same.
You are saying all of that, Diala. I agree with you.
We just need to adapt.
But you know what? Who is behind creating this day and age influencer? I mean, who's held responsible? Because the way and media, in my opinion.
Media and brands, we are all responsible. So when I sit as a journalist and when you sit as a journalist, we're sitting here in ITP and, we agreed today, no filters, right?
No filters.
So if I'm clapping for people and giving them names such as international and global trendsetter and blah, 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 when all they do is take pictures of themselves and their fake lifestyles without having a job, it's my responsibility, your responsibility,
Another one.
your responsibility.
Absolutely. But the thing is, it makes me sick to my stomach when I see some of these cringing moments where people are saying, I am reshaping the fashion industry in the region. Who gave you that title? Again, it goes back to the responsibilities of PR firms, media, agents, brands themselves that lack into doing any sort of research out of being lazy.
We are all responsible for
I
this.
agree with you, but you know what? Me and you are starting a dialogue here and we're voicing an opinion, and we do hope it will tap on. After reading an article, which you will probably see in the link below with this podcast, I'm going to share it with you. New Zealand is caught up with what we're discussing today. They
And
are paying
New York,
attention.
they started catching up as well, hoping, this happened during Fashion Week, hoping that the real content creators
Will have substance.
will have substance. And I'm sorry, in Fashion Weeks, I want to see editors-in-chief. I want to see journalists. I want to see
The
clients.
serious people.
I want to see retailers. I want to see real trendsetters. I don't want to see Instagrammers that have zero impact. Mohammed is friends with a lot of designers, and he knows the amount of work and passion and hard work these designers pass through to the levels of
Exhaustion,
and anxiety, depression. It breaks my heart that I don't see one single influencer asking to go backstage to say hi or talk about the collection
Or even say congratulations.
or say congratulations. Not even one. And when they do, they are so disrespectful. It's like, hey, you guys, we are backstage. What is this? We are representing
we are
the Arab
culture.
We
But
are
this is
smart
also a
men
minority.
and women.
This is also a minority.
But it's becoming a majority. We were talking about children.
Wanting
Children
to
in the
become famous.
past.
Yeah.
What did they want to be?
Influencers.
What did you want
I
to be
wanted
when
to
you
be
were
a
a kid?
pilot or an astronaut. I had this
Pilot,
dream of flying.
Probably a
Doctor,
pop star, actress.
dancer.
But even musicians is a career. You have to
Musicians.
learn how to use an instrument.
You
and
need
it's not
loads of
easy.
skills.
You have
Guess
to have a
what they want
talent.
to be today?
Influences.
Or
Which-
be
blacks.
famous for nothing. No talent.
No talent.
They don't want to study or work.
Do you
and this is
think-
based on kids of our friends that we have a day-to-day conversation with. These are their idols. This is the content that we're putting out there, and it's making girls go into anorexia, bulimia, have body dysmorphic disorders. I told you about the meeting that I had with a very famous doctor. He was explaining that even social media and the beauty bloggers have tapped into the medical field now, and they're getting certificates online to learn to be injectors, and they are using this to inject girls at 16 years old, because girls go through these fake and extra Photoshop pictures thinking this is the perception of beauty. I need to look like this and behave stupid like this and look like this, X, Y, and Z, to belong to this world, when these people don't even look like themselves in real life to begin with.
This is becoming
This is
very
serious.
This is
Yeah.
very
Not a
serious,
joke.
and it is extremely dangerous to be considered a doctor, or even using medical terms without certification, when you have people that have been working in universities that they work for 14, 16 years to develop a specific specialism in whatever domain they want to tap onto, from general to surgical. But then again, you know what? This is the responsibilities that we lack in giving or allowing to have influencers to have certain platforms.
Do you think it's too far gone now? Do you think that influencers have taken over so much
not.
of the industry?
So
how do
not.
we rein it back in?
So not. Mohammed shared with me an amazing article. I hope you get to share it with your fans.
I will.
It was on Forbes, and it's already showing that how the industry is passing through changes at the moment, and it will sort of stabilize. Fashion has always been a reflection of a specific social and cultural climate from the very beginning. And today, yet we are in another phase where things are clearing up. For example, brands are starting to realize that they need to look for more authentic influencers.
Longevity is a very big one.
Exactly. And they need to look for people that are credible, and they want new faces. They're not fooled anymore. Like there was this point that I absolutely loved in the article. It was influencer cliques and groups. Okay, so today we look at the influencer world and we see group of girls appearing to empower each other, support one another, go to each other's parties, post each other's projects, blah 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 blah.
Supporting.
You look at it, the normal viewer looks and they're like, oh, they have this amazing social life. I wish I could have this sort of life, blah blah blah. Looking at that, when in fact it's only a strategy of having a clique and a group. It's fake. They're not real friends. They spend so much time behaving that they're real friends. If you take each one of them aside, they would gladly backstab each other, which means
with ego.
We have lost values to that extent.
Fundamental values, I think.
We are so happy and we spend so much time creating fake images of happy kids, kissing husbands, amazing social life, waking up like this, traveling, and it's all not right and it's all fake. We work in the fashion industry. I know what it takes. I have publishers and friends and journalists that have mothers. Their kids cry every single day when their mother goes on a press trip. No, they're not jumping around and like dancing and everybody lives in this magical world. Social media is supposed to bring us closer to each other. For my job as a TV host, social media has helped me to get closer to my audience. My episode airs, I go live, I know on the spot what they like. I try to fix the things that they don't like, focus on the content that they like. But for it to become a tool that is used against women empowerment, making people feel silly if they're smart, making people bullied all the time, making people think lazy and stupid is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unintelligent, basically.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the better word. Sorry, I got carried away. It almost feels like education has no role anymore, and it makes me super, super sad and sometimes angry, but it also makes the general public feel.
So it goes back to responsibilities of trying to work with people. Generally, the PR and the media need to have not only journalistic integrity, but with influencers, it should be social media integrity.
Not give them the platform when they don't have good content.
Or control it carefully, to the extent where they are not only just posting a picture for the sake of promoting and advertising, but also to educate and actually be substantial influence in whatever product or whatever image they're trying to convey. There's a lot of mishmash on social media. Sometimes I just do not understand, what do these influencers stand for? Because here they are representing 20,000 brands, an airline, 6 different hotels, a brand, a perfume, a skincare line,
vacuum cleaner, a food product,
a blow dryer, a shampoo, a Band-Aid, a chocolate bar.
Poop spray. I'm not joking, by the way.
But the government, I feel like the government did try and step in to kind of vet these people and put this influencer license in place.
Which I disagree on, actually, Millie.
So tell me.
I just think that, it's for the government to step in and create such a license. Obviously, the government wouldn't do this unless they are seeing that there is an absolute disaster happening.
And there is a need. But the license wouldn't stop it.
It's not going to stop
But it's a beginning.
It won't stop any sort of control. I just don't think that the terms and conditions of how Instagram started generally as a photo sharing application has turned into a business where now you have to pay for it. This just doesn't sit well with me. In my opinion, it should be something fun and joyful. If someone is going to make money out of it in a smart, intelligent, educational way, by all means, go for it. If the substance is realistic and pure.
Which means...
I want to continue that I also kind of vocalized about my feelings towards why I felt that this license was a big mistake is because two kids in specific, reached out to me where one is raising money to pay for her mom who's a cancer patient, and the other one is only doing it to finish her education and get a certificate to eventually go out in the real world and not into just this digital world that everyone seems to be living by.
I think in the future episodes it would be great that we have previously sat with people that are controlling social media, and they have put these licensing in order. It is the very first stone in a future plan that they have, and I think it's amazing that the United Arab Emirates government is concerned about the loss of values and the protection of these specific values that are being lost today through social media. So let's hope it's the beginning. I really hope they can filter the kind of content that doesn't sit well.
You cannot just depend on a government.
No, of
Diala.
course not.
We need to have individuals like you and I who will also
starting
voice.
a conversation.
Absolutely.
I really believe now more than ever, like if you look at, I look at your page, I know that you spend on your photos. I know that you spend
Time
and money. I spend money on my content.
Yeah.
I spend money on my videos. I spend money on editing. I spend money on my pictures. So now more than ever, influencers need to spend on their content for it to have good value, regardless.
Realistic value.
Forget sponsorships and ads. They have always been there. I work on I work, that's like an Arabic word. I have my TV show. It is sponsored by a few brands.
And they're credited
but it has
properly.
organic and empowering fun. It's not all educational content.
But just to play devil's advocate here, because I'm sure we all have a lot of influencer friends as well. When you say that brands are investing in your brand, as in your production company, how would you argue to an influencer when that's different when they argue that they are their own brand? So essentially it's the same thing, it's just a different...
If you are comparing me, because I don't want to compare anybody else, I can compare me to a normal fashion influencer. I have the knowledge that they don't have. When I create a documentary, I research about the DNA and the history of these brands. I've sat with the creative designers. I've been in backstages. I've been through the process of creation for 14 years. And we've built relationships, Muhammad, for how many years?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
since I was a teenager, I guess.
So relationships in the fashion industry, they're not built overnight. So my knowledge and his knowledge would keep me at the top, even if I'm no longer in the age group that would fit me being a social influencer. Today, I have more jobs, touch wood, because they told us not to tap on anything, and they never work. I work more than a social influencer. After all these years, which brings me back to knowledge and education. And I told you what Oprah said. I met her. This was one of this amazing, it's like the fashion industry every now and then brings you this
A special moment.
Special moment, and you're like, yes, this is why I'm here. I was like, he knows it very well, and Nada knows it very well. So I was in the 50th anniversary of Ralph Lauren show in New York. I'm so sad that you were not there because all your friends were there. I'm like walking, you have Hillary Clinton, you have Pierce Brosnan, you have the real influencer in my opinion. So I'm walking and I'm seeing everybody, and I'm not We see them everywhere. I pass by Oprah and I just froze in my place because as a young girl, as a teenager, my dream was to become an opinionated woman like her, to come from nothing and create a brand, to influence people, I'm having goosebumps and it's not because this room is cold. She was the reason why I wanted to be on TV to change. I stopped, I turned to her, and I usually don't do this. She was having a conversation with a friend, which I later realized he's Pierce Brosnan. I didn't even look at him. That's how inspiring this woman is. I sat next to her. She was asking me about my content. She specifically asked, what kind of content do you do? Is your show weekly? How do you do your production? Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. I asked her opinion about the changes in the industry. You know what she said? What's real will stay. So there will be always new edition and fluff and people coming in and out. But eventually, the people that have the knowledge, they will stay. As journalists, as media personalities, as businessmen, we adapt to the different platforms. We adapt to the social changes, but we never lose or never sell our soul just because dancing is trending and making a fool out of ourselves on Instagram. I'm not gonna dance and make
Do you feel
myself. It's stupid. I'm not gonna do a stupid challenge for views.
Do you think it's social pressures, or do you think it's just because people want more followers?
It is
To go viral?
It's both. It's really both. And it makes me sad because some of these women are really smart and educated women. No, I don't want to see a video of you dancing. Say something empowering. If you're a mother, tell me how challenging it is to be a working mother and raising your kids and putting, metaphorically, food on the table. I would like to see that. Please don't show me a video of you dancing.
Does it offend you when people refer to you as influencers, because you guys are kind of at that crossroads where you
Milli.
have the following?
Milli, a real influencer will never say I'm an influencer.
Yeah.
But what about when people call you an influencer?
I get offended, and Nada, my producer and my partner, specifically removes the word from my contract.
I constantly correct people. I really have to. It's my responsibility to do so because, as I said earlier, to me, an influencer is someone who discovered a new planet, cured cancer, saved a life, made a change on a global scale. I'm not going to stand for a title that was created and uncertified, and there is actually no education behind it. Which college did give them the certification of being called or having a title like influencer? You know how, like, when you fill out a form and you have Mr., Mrs., Doctor, whatever, we're going to have influencer next,
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, because it's become such a serious title in this day and age.
So if for some reason Instagram goes down for 1 week, what do they have to fall on? Nothing. You don't have influence if you are not somebody.
You know,
that
in China, they
has
don't have that.
a career in the society.
You've got to have more to show for it than pictures on one social media
I
platform.
feel social media it's a great tool to promote your business. You're a businessman, it's great. You're a journalist, it's great. You're a company, it's great. Fashion company, great. It's amazing to showcase and to promote your work.
I agree with Diala with this, but also, you know
But they would
what?
never cancel real people.
This
You
is what-
saw Dolce & Gabbana. You were sitting next to me. Who walked the show in Dolce & Gabbana this season? Monica Bellucci, Carla Bruni. They brought back the real supermodels.
An Italian cast, Isabella Rossellini.
These are influencers.
They're representing their, you know, authentic brand.
Right.
Their roots, basically. Now, what I was going to go back to is this job title, which really bothers me because I look at one like my father who has worked hard all his life, you know, who has gone through the education, has his certificate, grew with values, had a reason in the change in society, giving back to this country economically, politically, supporting, socially, building the country. But, we've had, like, basically, I'm talking about not just my dad, but all the leading men of that era that, okay, probably nobody even knows of anymore, but they are the reason why a lot of these people are in this region or in this city.
No, we remember Dubai 20 years ago. These are the men and the people that built this country.
And now someone who promotes a skincare line or a lipstick or a perfume or a bag that actually hijacks our feed on Instagram has more relevance than a person who's built an entire nation.
Not only relevance, they make it to lists like Forbes and I'm not going to mention it.
Just
to the most influential lists.
It just doesn't sit very well with me because I find it really unfair that when someone is sweating, their heads off on trying to build an entire nation is undervalued or even forgotten because of a digital era that's made uneducated hooligans more important and relevant
hooligans.
What
does that even
only
mean?
A digital era.
There's a reality show on in the UK that's a couple of years old now, and anybody that goes into this reality show comes out of it with a million followers immediately on Instagram, and they just become an influencer.
But is that healthy? Is that normal?
No, it's not. But
there was
the way
a show
the
like
world,
that?
no, it's going now at the moment.
Is it?
And this summer,
I think
they
this can
had-
turn into something quite interesting. Or we will lose all our followers.
I don't mind.
I already lost a few.
you'll have the
since
authentic
Fashion Week.
ones. But this year, they had more applications to this reality show than they did for Oxford and Cambridge for people to go and study.
It's ridiculous.
It's
That-
really upsetting that we're
makes
moving in that
me
direction.
So sad.
Where have we lost our values? Where is education going? Where is it? Does it come from home? Is it? I don't know. Is it? What are social circles discussing these days? Where is the real serious articles that will change my child or my nephew or my dad or my?
Articles, blogging is dead. Blogging, when first surfaced in the early 2000s, it was the alternative platform that made fashion industry into a democracy. We used to enjoy reading blogs. People don't write blogs anymore. But
I write a blog.
You do, I do too. But maybe
Do you feel like you don't get any more clicks like how you
Definitely
used to?
less.
Definitely
but
less.
it's exactly like what Diala said earlier. I always tell myself, if Instagram goes down tomorrow, what have you got to show for it? Like, where is all your content
Let's
going?
say www. The internet completely goes away tomorrow. What are we gonna do? Kids can't even open a book, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
There was a case study done on one of those tutorials that I went on. Basically, it was a seminar, and the presenter said, "We live in a very dangerous era because we did the study where we put a magazine in front of this kid, and what the kid did, like an iPad, ran his finger across the cover of the magazine." Do you think education as well has tapped onto this digital era from a different view where they're not teaching kids the actual old value of
I don't know how you you're sort of like reading my mind and it's freaking me out. I just wrote here fashion schools. I believe in order to regulate this social media phase, which will not end at anytime soon.
I think it might. I think with the way things are going, the
social
articles
media,
that I'm
the
reading.
Influencers not. The influencers, yes.
Okay.
Social media, no.
Social media will always
But-
last, but there's gonna be, there's gonna be, with voices like yours and mine.
And education. I believe fashion schools should be teaching, should be having seminars, classes where people come in and teach designers how to promote their brands, how to choose the right influencers, how to market, how to strategize their sales by using specific opinion leaders. This needs to be taught and educated and have an open conversations such as this without fear and without the fear of being judged, because we live in a very small society. We might be walking out from here and we will be in a social scene where we're surrounded by them.
I agree with you, but you know what's happening right now? Companies are opening social media departments within all of the industries. Like only since 2010 or 2011 and 12, let's say, was when the boom of Instagram, actually, 2014, when it started booming. And now all of a sudden it's a business. And companies are opening departments that are actually titled the social media department.
There needs to be definitely more education when it comes to social media, the right ways to use it, how to commercialize it. I think in the future, if we have college degrees or specific courses that teaches the pros and cons of social media and the use of influencers when it comes to the social levels in any community, it will change things, because there is a big lack of knowledge and education. And for that, I really think there needs to be some sort of exchange programs with international universities where, you know, we share knowledge of how to start controlling this content, because at this pace,
there's no stopping.
I kind of feel like for me there's this weird kind of push and pull in between, because before I joined Harper's, I was blogging. I mean, I'm still blogging. So I go to these events and I'm friends with lots of bloggers. So I really feel like I'm in a battle between the two worlds. And, you know, we were at Fashion Week, at Paris Fashion Week, and I was sitting at one of the shows, and the whole front row was influencers, and it was all editors on the second row.
How did that make you feel?
Well, that was my first Fashion Week, so I was a little bit like, this isn't how people have told me that it works before. But I was kind of thinking like, okay, you know what? To be fair, power to them. If they've got that front row seat, they're getting paid by these brands, you know, they've done what they've got to do to make their money and make their success. Whether that, like we said, in terms of longevity, whether that actually they can carry that on.
They don't even talk about the collections.
No, and this was something.
They don't even interview the designers, so they don't have content.
They don't
Like
they
even
dress
juggle
by the
receipts.
brands.
Yeah.
They take a picture and a selfie.
Yeah.
And that is content? No. I'm gonna give an example, like how I understand you 100%, because sometimes we are put in that box, me and Mohammed. For example, there's this day that I was flying from Milan to make it to a show to Paris on zero sleep, to get to the backstage 3 hours before the show, to interview the head to interview the creative director, Peter Phillips. Sat and waited for my turn. See a few influencers taking product shots, without any respect for the creative director, without any respect for the models that are there. That's it. They go, change, have their lunches, wear the brand, take a picture, their job is done. Meanwhile, content creators, I sit there for hours, then I finish, I go sit in the show. And then when I finish the show, I go backstage again to interview the designer, Maria Grazia Quiri. And you know that it's like over 500 journalists from all over the world trying to take a scoop. And I'm fighting for a scoop for my region. I'm not getting paid by the brand. I finish that. I go, finish my links, go back to my hotel, write a report so it can go on the website talking about the collection. Why are we there? Oh, and then in order for me to have this 360 and to adapt to the changes that are happening to the industry, we have to produce a video that airs the same day. So this is how fashion weeks are. It's not taking a phone and dressing by the brand and taking a selfie. It's sitting with these designers that Mohammed knows, the models that have barely have any time from show to show, the stress, the creativity, this is the fashion industry that we don't see on Instagram. People think our fashion industry is lame. When you talk to normal people, people think the fashion industry is lame. The fashion industry is anything but lame.
It's a serious job.
Not
and
only
it's
a serious
exhausting.
job,
It's such a serious
Muhammad,
business
they
as well. It's an
changed.
industry
It changed
that we all live in.
It's socially changed things.
Yeah.
I know we only have like about another 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So
I have to go back to my
There's
shoes.
So
there's so many
I'm going
different topics that
Yeah.
can stem just from this,
Yeah.
and we have so much left to talk
But
about.
I think
We do.
we all
but
agree.
it's not going to stop here because I'm going to summarize it right now and just say where the responsibilities lay. I really would point my fingers towards PR, the way that they research who to utilize and why are they utilizing them.
We should get a PR as our next guest.
We should, and definitely different media outlets on, basically why there has been favoritism shown, what type of monopoly leads to
Mafia.
the chosen ones, why is it reoccurring? How come I still, as a national Emirati, have not seen enough Emirati boys and girls doing half of the things that are doing in this very cosmopolitan city that we live in called Dubai? So to cut a long story short, it's a hit and miss on my feeling towards influencers. There's no right and wrong here. I've asked my audience and most of it has been, like I said, negative, which is leaning me towards believing that sometimes instincts are correct. But then again, we are here today to voice our opinions, to educate people, to make a change, and to also hold people that are, in this domain, hold them responsible for this mess that is happening in this region with digital influencers.
I will end on one note as well. Speaking about this clique and this one group of influencers that are being used locally and internationally, we need to start scouting for talents like models and musicians were scouted in the past. My partner sitting over there did a casting in in the American University in Dubai, and the amount of talent that we can get is amazing. If you get one brand to endorse and support one talent, you have a group of
We've
amazing
created a star, basically.
amazing influencers that can contribute positively to the industry. We need to start scouting and looking for those Emiratis, Khalijis, diverse women. They are there. But if we keep looking through one list because we don't want to do the hard work, nothing will change.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, Diana.
Maybe we should open...
Let's not share this. That's top secret for our next episode.
Okay.
But
this was really inspired. This was an inspiring talk. I want to end on a positive note.
Absolutely. I just would like to hear from our audience and from everyone that will be listening in on what would you like us to discuss for our next topic, Diala, Milli, and myself. And with that, we might have a new surprise guest based on the
also,
feedback.
let us know which guests you'd like on here. What
Actually,
industry do you
I think I want to surprise everyone with a
Oh,
guest.
great.
So,
Okay. But I would like to hear suggestions of who they. Because that
I'm
could
not
be
going to drop
interesting.
names at the
Maybe
moment
I'll
because we haven't
surprise you
asked
after.
anyone. We haven't asked anyone. So I cannot just drop a name and then and then it being a
Suggestions
buzzkill.
from our audience would be great.
Yes, that would be amazing.
We'd like suggestions. We'd like you to let us know exactly what you would like us to tap into more. We hope you enjoyed this podcast with myself and our journalist and producer Diala Makki and our in-house.
It was a pleasure. I actually really loved it. I thought I was gonna get out from here angry.
You feel liberated.
I feel liberated, and I feel happy that we're having this very civil discussion. And I honestly believe change always comes from starting a conversation.
Milli, thank you again for having me.
Well,
It's
thank you.
always.
I mean, guys, you did it. You did it.
It's always a pleasure to honestly
Yes.
constantly, and I'm so grateful
And
that
thank you for
Harper's.
this platform, obviously.
I was just
Yeah.
about to thank Harper's
Yeah.
Bazaar for allowing me to have this platform where we can have open discussions that are really going to add value to society and make a change and voice an opinion that's clear and out there. I hope we've educated you today.
Yeah,
as
we
much
always
as,
love having guests that are proper industry insiders that can really offer a substantial, take on what's going on.
Well, I can't wait for the next episode. So,
Okay.
see
Make
you.
sure you tune
Thank
in.
you again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Currently Trending on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts.